From the quiet corners of 18th-century Vienna to the thunder of Ninth Symphonies. A through line runs through Beethoven's life that many listeners only feel in the bravura moments: love. Not a simple fairy tale, but a stubborn, humbling, and ultimately transformative force that shaped the music he left behind. If you listen with your heart tuned to romance, you'll hear more than melodies. You'll hear a conversation between a composer and the people who mattered to him. And sometimes the people he could never fully have. What makes Beethoven's love life so rich for our ears isn't just the stories themselves. It's the way those stories braided into sound, turning longing into form, doubt into daring, and everyday life into something eternal. Let us begin with those early sparks. When youth met music in a single room and the air crackled with possibility. A young composer moves into the orbit of a bright, vivacious woman named Giulietta Guicciardi. The letters from those days are less a report and more a confession written in scales and arpeggios. He is smitten. A man who can't quite think straight. Yet he finds a way to turn his feelings into a musical vow. The piece that many listeners associate with that time carries a stubborn, ardent flame. A work that crackles with intensity and a tenderness that doesn't shrink from pain. The teacups tremble in the cupboard of memory as he writes, and the music follows him. Carrying a promise perhaps not fulfilled, but not forgotten either. The heart has a stubborn shape. And sometimes it makes itself known through conflict. Beethoven's longing didn't simply vanish when a response didn't arrive. It grew restless, a heat that could both illuminate a room and blur his thoughts. In the case of Giulietta, we see a life-altering hinge. A marriage proposal that didn't happen. But the moment stayed with him. The music of that era, the late 1790s and early 1800s, carries a new kind of courage. It's not merely about triumph. It's about embracing the ache and moving forward with the stubborn belief that beauty can emerge from a wound. You can hear that tension in the fast, urgent rhythms of some of his sonatas, and in the ardent, almost insistent leaps of melody that insist on life even when the heart is heavy. If we jump forward a few years, another kind of love enters the frame, an almost sacred, carefully preserved aspiration toward a woman who seems to hover between promise and distance. Therese Malfatti, a bright, gifted young woman, becomes the symbol of a hope that could have redirected a life entirely. The famous anecdote about Elise is often told with a smile and a shrug at the door to certainty. It's popularly believed to be a love note to Therese, though the exact identity remains debated by scholars. Even so, the music speaks with a delicate, humorous glow in its surface, while the undertow within carries the tremor of a confession. It's as if the composer crafted a playful invitation to openness. And the listener suddenly realizes romance can be both light-hearted and profound at once. In such pieces, love's language is not loud and showy but intimate, almost shy. And that duality makes the music breathe. Then there is the other, larger, more elusive thread, the unanswerable letter of longing that survives the ages as a kind of legend, the Immortal Beloved. We don't know who she was, or even if the person existed as a single, discrete figure in his life. But the very existence of that dedication, that private kiss of ink on paper, shows us a different truth. Love for Beethoven was not a tidy chapter but a force that kept returning, mutating, expanding his ambitions. In the letters, there is a fevered intensity, a mix of devotion and fear, of hope and a warning to himself to be brave or to retreat. The effect on his music is not simply about sentiment. It's about the way a heart rehearses courage, remade by the possibility of loss. The sound grows more expansive, more radiant, as if he is pouring that private storm into the public sky. As the years pass, life throws him further tests, and romance becomes less about a person in a doorway. The music becomes a diary of resilience. When the world throws deafness at him, when the stage grows louder but the ears grow quieter, love remains a thread he cannot drop. It is love reframed as perseverance, love transmuted into a stubborn, luminous loyalty to the act of creation. The Ninth Symphony, with its choral vision of human fellowship, can feel like a grand, generous hug toward humanity. It's not just a celebration of union. It's a testament that even in loneliness, love has the last word. The struggle to hear cannot silence the impulse to connect. It reorients the connection into something more universal, more inclusive, a romance with life itself. Romance in Beethoven's world is not glamour or easy melodrama. It's weather, sun and storm passing through the same day, shaping mood and memory. It's a reminder that even when a kiss does not arrive, the longing can still spark a piece that moves others to tears or to dance. There is something generous about the way he channels personal longing into universal language. The music invites listeners to bring their own stories into the hall, to borrow from his pain and transform it into grace, to trust that a broken heart can still be a doorway to beauty. When you hear the stormy, dramatic energies of his early sonatas, or the luminous, almost devotional light of the late symphonies, you are hearing a life in conversation with a beloved not always present, but endlessly imagined and profoundly felt. For couples and dreamers who watch this channel, Beethoven's life offers a map of romance's growth. It shows that love is not only about pleasant evenings and perfect endings, but about the ways in which longing can become a compass. In moments when we feel stuck by routine, we can borrow a little of his stubborn faith. That love's pull is worth the hunger. That the risk of heartbreak can coexist with the risk of staying small. The music teaches us to persist with tenderness, to keep faith with possibility, to let longing expand into art, into connection with others, into a vow to live more fully. And isn't that what romance is at its best, a vow to become more than we are, together with someone else, through music, through life, through time? If you listen with the idea that every note might be a whispered yes or a careful not yet, you'll hear how love, real, unsettled, sometimes unreturned, could be the strongest conductor in Beethoven's orchestra. It is not that love saved him in a single moment, but that it pressed him to translate longing into form, to turn warmth into structure, to convert vulnerability into courage. In the end, the romance is not only about the stories of specific people. It is about a human instinct to seek connection, to create beauty when life feels uncertain, and to believe that the best endings are the ones we learn to write with our own hands, note by note. Beethoven shows us that love, whether joyfully present or heartbreakingly absent, has the power to illuminate a life, to propel a work, and to remind us that the longing to belong can become art that belongs to all of us. So next time you press play on a Beethoven piece, listen not only for the technique, the form, or the drama. Listen for the echo of a life shaped by love. Let the music remind you that romance isn't only about romance as a moment in time, it's a force that endures. A melody that keeps returning. A heartbeat behind every phrase. And if the story behind the notes feels intimate or even whispered, you're exactly where the magic begins, where love life and music life meet. And together they teach us to dream again, to hope again, and to believe that a true, living romance can, indeed, have a lasting happy ending in sound. And as the years wore on, the rooms grew into sanctuaries where the memory of a whispered kiss could become a compass rather than a wound. The simplest moments, watching rain on a window, sharing a table with a friend who believed in him, taught him that romance isn't only grand gestures. It has patience, attention, and the courage to start. Listeners hear a generous trust in connection, a conviction that even solitude can be redrawn into community. The quartet of a string, a wind, a piano, and a chorus becomes a dialogue with someone who might never be seen, yet remains essential to the music. That belief breathed life into the late quartets and the final symphonies, where tenderness softens the thunder, where a single breath can carry a room across years. When we listen today, we hear the arc of a heart that weathered disappointment and still chose to listen for light, to trust that love creates, rather than consumes. The score becomes a map of inner weather, cold mornings, warm arrivals. The stubborn belief that the next phrase might carry a message of return. And perhaps that is the true gift of Beethoven's romance. It rewrites the rules not by denying loss, but by showing that life goes on and that art can hold the space where two souls might meet again in a shared melody. To modern listeners, these ideas feel like a quiet revolution. Love becomes not a fairy tale but a craft, mercy, resilience, and awe for another person's inner world. If Giulietta or Therese showed him a doorway, the universe offered him dozens of windows. And he learned to look through them with music rather than with clenched fists. That shift from longing as lack to longing as invitation transformed his tempo, his phrasing, and the way he framed a cadence. In the end, the music invites us to believe that even our most private hopes can resonate outward, shaping communities and futures. These quiet revolutions remain the deepest romance Beethoven offered to us. A reminder that love is not a moment, but a practice that